Yo, what's up, everybody? I hope you all are having a good week. Welcome to another episode of Drop Balls Podcast. We got a lot of drama going on, man. NFL and NBA. We got a lot of drama going on. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we get into it, I do want to let you all know this episode is being brought to you by Black Elephant Brand. If you haven't visited the website yet, go ahead and take a look at blackelephantbrand.com. Use the code DROPBALLS to get 15% off of your first purchase. I'm telling you, man, there's some hot stuff out there. This shirt is now up there. Everything, we got a lot of stuff up there on the website. So go ahead and check it out. BlackElephantBrand.com. Code DROPBALLS for 15% off. Also, this episode has been brought to you by Thrive Fantasy app. If you like making prop bets, come prop up with us on Thrive Fantasy app. You can download the app from your Apple iTunes store or your Google Play store. And when you sign up, just be sure to use the code DROPBALLS20. After you make your first deposit, they will match you up to $50 after you make that first initial deposit. So go ahead and drop. I'm gonna drop the link down below. My bad. I'm gonna drop the link down below, and go ahead and click that link, and you all will get to the app. They take all of the guesswork, all of the research out of it because they only ask you about the top tier players in their respective sports. So go ahead and download the app today, and like I said, use the code DROPBALLS20 if you want to get matched up to $50 after your initial deposit. But like I said, we got a lot of drama, and I'm gonna start with the NBA, man. So I'm recording this on a Wednesday, and just today they finally made a deal for James Harden. James Harden is going to the Brooklyn Nets, and now it's been brewing ever since offseason. We've been sitting here talking about it ever since the offseason when James Harden was like he wasn't happy, he wanted to be traded. They ended up trading Westbrook, got him out of the situation, and then Harden, he was saying he wanted to be traded. When he finally showed up to camp, finally got to playing games with the team and everything, he was disgruntled. Then you could tell the way things were going. He was taking plays off. He looked lazy. He looked like he came in overweight. He wasn't in shape. None of that. And it looked like it just got worse as the season progressed. And then yesterday after the game against the Lakers, he came out and said his things about, what do you say, that it's not working and this team's not good enough and they're not good enough to beat the Lakers, and that, the relationship was unrepairable. Things couldn't be fixed at this time. So today they kept him away from the team and they shipped him up out of there. And I mean, even John Wall and Boogie had some things to say. John Wall was like, man, we got other people buying in, and then we got this one guy that don't want to buy in, and that, that's he not even giving it a chance and all of this stuff. And then Boogie was just like, man, I ain't even come to play with him. I came to play with John Wall, and he's been like this. He's been like this ever since he got here. So Boogie had his things to say. John Wall had his things to say. The team felt that James Harden shouldn't have practiced with them today, and so they kept him home and worked on getting a deal done. And earlier today, the rumor was that it was between the Nets and the 76ers that were getting in on the mix, and they were the two teams most likely to land them. And I guess Brooklyn ended up getting them. They gave up a lot for them. I don't really know. To me, this doesn't make them any more of a contender than what they already were. Actually, I think it might lessen their chances of making it to the finals, just because, for one, we don't know when Kyrie coming back. For two, you have kind of depleted your bench. And that was one of the things where I thought they had a great bench. They had Jared Allen coming off the bench. They had Karis LeVert coming off the bench. Taurean Prince coming off the bench. And Karis LeVert was averaging, I believe, 18 points a game for them off the bench. 18.6 assists off the bench. And, that's solid. And Jared Allen, he's your rim protector. He's your shot blocker and everything. And you lose that. I'm not saying DeAndre Jordan isn't good, but when DeAndre Jordan goes to the bench, where you going to look for, or who you going to look to for those shot blocks and protecting the rim, because you don't have Jared Allen anymore. And so, and where are you going to get those points from off the bench? I don't know where they're going to get the points from, but I mean, they got James Harden a second round pick. The Rockets got Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodion Kurux. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I don't want to really even keep trying. But anyway, and then they got 4 first round picks from Brooklyn and 4 pick swaps. Cavs got Jared Allen, and they got Taurean Prince, And then the Pacers get Karis LeVert and a second round pick. In my opinion, the Rockets won this trade, and the Pacers came off pretty good with this trade as well, because you get Karis LeVert, who's a scorer. He's a really good player. Karis LeVert is a really good player. He's young. You get a second round pick for him, or a second round pick as well. And the Rockets, I mean, you add Victor Oladipo, who's another guard who's averaging 20 points a game this year after his injury. And you pair him with John Wall, who John Wall can now actually be himself. He can be the ball dominant point guard that, he was when he was with Washington, and, distribute how he needs to, and also help spread that, get the perimeter. And so you got Oladipo, you add Dante Exum, and they got 4 first-round picks. Like, this is a team that's rebuilding. And not only do they got 4 first-round picks now, but I believe they got a first-round pick from Washington. They've been accumulating picks before the season even started, the whole offseason. They was accumulating picks. And so now they have all of these picks where if you hit right, you got a team for the future. I mean, you got John Wall, you got Oladipo, I believe, is like, he's 28. So he's still fairly young. And he's an all-star. So, I mean, you have an all-star. You got John Wall. You're good. Houston, I believe, is in a good situation right now. Like I said, I don't really know about the Nets because I feel they depleted their bench. And, I mean, I heard my boy Damian Adams from The Real Deal of Damian Adams. Shout out to him. I heard him on his YouTube page. And he was saying it was just like when KD went to Golden State. And they had to deplete their bench because, KD, Clay, and Steph, and Draymond, they making majority of the money that the team has to offer. But the thing that worked with Golden State was that even though, they had a depleted bench, the team worked and they won a championship together because of the simple fact that you have a superstar point guard who is willing to share the ball. He comes off of ball screens, finds any other way to get open and get his points, and he's going to get his points. You got Klay Thompson, who will probably take one dribble a game and still put up 30. So you have a bunch of unselfish players. But with Brooklyn, I mean, we already seen what's going on with Kyrie. He'd have missed about 5 games because of personal reasons. And, no call, no show. And didn't show up for work. For us normal folk, we do that. We liable to get fired. But Kyrie Irving, no call, no show. Team still acting like they support him and everything. So, I mean, to me, that's selfish. So he's a selfish player. We've already seen James Harden. If James Harden don't get his way, then you already seen how he acts. And then he's a ball dominant guard who will dribble the ball out until the shot clock is down and then pass it out. And that Kyrie's the same way. You got KD, who's probably the most efficient scorer, so he's gonna get his points regardless because he's very efficient. So he gets his touches, he gonna score. But we've seen James Harden, we've seen Kyrie. Now they're generational talented players, but they're just very selfish players. And if they don't get their way, then they throw a fit or they do whatever they want to do. I mean, just look at James Harden. He pretty much played his way out of Houston. Now, I know people will say that, he averaged 24 and 10. Yeah, the last time James Harden averaged 24 points or less than 25 points, I should say. The last time that happened with James Harden was his last year at OKC. I believe that was 2012, 2013 or something like that. That's the last time we've seen James Harden average under 25 points. And since then, I'm going to pull up the stats. Since then, James Harden, I believe the year after his first year with Houston, he went on to average 25 points. So, yeah. Okay, so my bad. It was the 2011-2012 season. His last year with OKC, he averaged 16.8 points a game. That's off the bench. Then he went on to Houston, averaged 25, 25.9, 25.4, 27.4, 29, 29, 30.4, 36.1, 34.3, and then this year, 24.8. So that's how I know James Harden wasn't trying. Like, I mean, yeah, he got 10 assists, blah, 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 whatever. But that's how I know Harden was not trying. And, I mean, even when you watch the games, you see how he's jogging up court, being lazy, all of this and all of that. So he forced his way out of Houston because he didn't get what he wanted. And so, hey, sayonara, peace. I don't have them. Honestly, after that move, I really don't have them winning the East because it's just like I said, it's that depleted bench. And one thing goes wrong. I mean, Kyrie already talking about that the reason he's not, or stuff has already came out that the reason Kyrie isn't with the team is because his relationship with Katie. He's mad at the Nets because they hired Steve Nash. And so, I mean, it's just like, and honestly, I think that's why the Nets picked up, just went ahead and traded for Harden because it's like, we don't know when Kyrie's going to come back. We already know, we know what's wrong with him, but we just don't know when he's coming back. So we'll see what happens there as things continue to develop. And I mean, I don't know. To me, I've lost respect for Kyrie. I lost respect for James Harden, and that's how I feel. I mean, others, you all may feel different, but I've lost respect for both of them. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna just move on, leave it right there, leave it there, and let's go ahead and go over to the NFL. Now we just had the wild card weekend, and I went 5-1, with exception for my Colts, because we lost to the Buffalo Bills. I did a whole YouTube episode on that, on the Seattle Seahawks game, Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams, and then the Colts versus the Bills. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube at Drop Balls Pod. Just search it on YouTube, Drop Balls, and my YouTube page will come up. It'll also be down in the description. But so go ahead and make sure y'all subscribe to that. But anyway, so my Colts lost to the Buffalo Bills. Seattle lost to the Rams. I had the Rams winning that game. I had the Colts winning against the Bills, and it looked like for a minute we was gonna win, but we had some hiccups, some bad play calling and stuff, and we just ended up not winning. So it is what it is. Tampa Bay beat Washington. Now that was a last minute change. Once I saw that Alex Smith was not going to play that game because he was inactive because of his foot and everything. I went ahead and switched my pick to Tampa Bay. If you don't believe me, go look at Twitter at DropBallsPod. It's all on there. I switched my pick to Tampa Bay. Tampa pulled it out. Had the Ravens winning. Who else played? I had New Orleans beating Chicago. And surprisingly most people probably didn't have this, but I had the Browns beating the Steelers. And the reason I had that is because the Steelers' offense just isn't what it is. Their defense is decent, but they lost a lot when they lost Bud Dupree. And I believe they had lost another one of their linebackers as well. So that was a depleted defense. Their offense couldn't get it done. I believe Big Ben threw 4 interceptions that game. Yeah, he threw for 500-something yards, threw 68, but he also threw 68 times because they have no run game. And we saw that on Sunday, I believe. And actually, I believe, it was on Sunday. And they got put out. And Cleveland went up big in the first half. And then, of course, the Steelers came back the second half and tried to make it a game, but it didn't happen. And I mean, this goes to show you that they're bigger issue. I mean, they have bigger issues than that offense. They have bigger issues at the helm, than that offense. You got Juju Smith-Schuster saying his stuff on the Browns before the game. You had all his antics. Well, not really antics, but his dancing on the team logos before the games, and that gave teams, extra. That amped them up a little bit more. Not only that, but then now, after this game, and they're doing all this shit on TikTok. And it's like, I understand y'all are young, whatever. I mean, I'll be on TikTok, be looking at stuff, posting videos on TikTok and everything, but I get it, y'all are young. Do your thing. But at some point, you got to cut them distractions out and, take care of business. Juju's not that good to be talking the shit that he talked. Chase Claypool came up after the game, on TikTok talking about, going over some of the plays or whatever, and then talking about how, the Browns are going to get smacked by the Kansas City Chiefs anyway. Bro, y'all have no room to talk because y'all just got y'all ass smacked by the Browns. So you ain't got no room to talk about that. And I like Chase Claypool. I think Chase Claypool is going to be a really good receiver. I mean, he's like I've always said about DK. They're both freaks in nature. Claypool, I believe, is like 6'4", 230, runs like a 4.4 40. And he's good. I mean, he's if you watched him this season, he's good. He was, I believe, top 3 on my rookie receivers for this season. It was Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Chase Claypool. Those were my top 3 in that order. So, but this ain't the way. Like, don't follow in Mr. Corvette footsteps. Because as we have seen, Mr. Corvette does not show up after he does his little antics. Now, he had about 100 yards this game, 157 yards this past game. But to me, it was all empty calories because that first half, they held them to like, Juju had like maybe 1 or 2 catches for like 10 yards. And then the second half, he started doing his thing. So to me, that was just empty calories because they was already up big. So the Steelers had to throw the ball. They couldn't run clock. They had to throw the ball. And I mean, pretty much second half, Browns got conservative. That's just what happened. But that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. The Steelers will go back to the drawing board. Mike Tomlin to do what he needs to do to get his team where they need to be. But I remember I had the Steelers being maybe the best team in the NFL at one point in time, and they just made me look like a fool, to be honest. But I mean, I had them being the best team in the NFL. I had them offense, defense. It was because at one point in time it was just rolling for them. Yeah, they had a lot of close games or whatever, but good teams find a way to win. That's just what happens. But they couldn't find a way to win on Sunday, and they I just believe they have more issues than what meets the eye. But anyway, this week, so like I said, I'm 5-1 so far, just because of my Colts let me down. It hurts my heart, but it is what it is. So this week we have the divisional playoffs, and we got the Packers and the Rams, I believe, on Saturday. And we have the Ravens and the Bills on Saturday as well. Then on Sunday, we have the Chiefs and the Browns and the Saints and the Bucks. So here are my picks for this week. I have the Packers beating the Rams 28-17. Now, the score may not be exactly what it is, but this is just my takes. I got the Packers beating the Rams 28-17. I have the Ravens beating the Bills 34-30. The reason I chose the Ravens over the Bills run defense is very suspect. And the Ravens, what do? Really well, they run the ball. So I have the Ravens bleeding clock and beating the Bills 34-30. Sunday, I have the Chiefs beating the Browns 40-28. And I have the Saints beating the Bucks 28-23. I believe that'll be the closest game of this week, just because this will be their third time playing each other. And I mean, honestly, Tom Brady, it could go either way. Tom Brady could win the game. Third time's a charm, but I'm picking the Saints over the Bucks this week. Yeah, so those are my picks for the divisional round. And then, after this game or after these games, I'll go ahead and give y'all my next picks for the championships, the conference championships. But in other news, we also have some more drama in the NFL with Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. Deshaun wants out. It's apparent that Deshaun wants out, and it looks like it's because of hiring practices, failures to to not avoid, but failures to participate in like social justice movements or, what's the word I'm looking for? They fail to recognize social injustice and everything the Houston Texans do. Not only that, but hiring practices. And I mean, I guess he gave them a list of GMs that he wanted the team to interview. They came and asked him about some things, and he gave them a list of the GMs that he wanted them to interview or at least just take a look at or whatever. And from what I was reading is that he said that, or that they said that he knew they wouldn't hire one of them, but at least interview one. And so they didn't. They ended up interviewing or hiring, I believe it was a guy from the Patriots. They hired him to come over to the Texans. Deshaun Watson didn't like that. Then you had where this week they didn't interview the Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. I hope I'm saying that right. Bieniemy, yeah. So they didn't interview him. And they say they will. They say they are going to interview him. And I mean, when you think about it, the Chiefs are in the playoffs right now. They're going to they're about to play in the divisional game. So I'm pretty sure he's not looking to be interviewed for a head coaching job right now. Do I think the Texans are going to wait for him to be ready to interview? Nah, I think they'll hire somebody before that. Or they may give him one interview and then hire somebody else. But I don't think they're waiting for him. But their relationship has been hurt, has been messed up. And so I don't know if it's repairable at this point. Now I do think if they hire Eric Bieniemy, then that may repair that may patch up the relationship a little bit, because you have an offensive coordinator coming in as the head coach who is going to be really big on the way the offense is ran and making sure that Deshaun Watson has the weapons that he needs in order for the offense to run properly. Um, but I don't know. But I've seen some things thrown around about Miami maybe trading uh, Tua over to Houston for Deshaun Watson. But I don't think it should. I don't think that's an even trade. I think Miami's gonna have to throw somewhere in there to get Deshaun Watson if that's what they're gonna do, because um, that just don't make sense to me. It doesn't. Tua's still unproven. The jury's still out on Tua. So I don't think that trading Tua away for Deshaun Watson and that's is enough for Houston. I think Houston, especially for what they gave away for David Johnson. They gave away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, pretty much, and like maybe a second or third round pick or something like that. So yeah, I don't think that was enough. So when you do something like that, you gotta recoup. So if they do trade Deshaun Watson over to Miami, then they need to recoup something else. They need to get a first round draft pick, maybe a first and a second round, and Tua. I think that's fair. I, I think that's fair. And I mean this year's first round and maybe next year's first round. And it doesn't have to be the early first round. It could be like the late first round. Maybe I believe the Dolphins have the 26th pick this year as well. So get the Dolphins 26th pick, and then get a second rounder for this year, and get Tua. So that way you can start putting some more weapons around Tua and offensive line around Tua. Get him protected. Make sure he stays upright. And I think that's what Houston needs to do if they're going to decide to trade Deshaun. Now, the thing with Deshaun Watson is that he has one more year left on what was his rookie contract. It would have been an option year for the team, but he signed that extension, that 4-year extension, and so that goes into effect, I believe, the 2022 season. So he has one year left on his rookie contract, which would be his 5th year. And then, but if they cut him now, I believe they have like a $67 million dead cap penalty. So that'll go on their cap or whatever. They can choose. I believe they can choose to pay it off or something like that, so it doesn't continue for future years. But that would be the only issue I would see with trading Deshaun Watson right now versus waiting a couple more years. Honestly, personally, I think they'll wait maybe 3 years and then get rid of him, because that's when the cap penalty isn't as big, and they've gotten some years out of him, and maybe try to recoup an asset, because in 3 years that'll be his out, or that'll be their out, and so they'll recoup something for him, because he's going to go on to have a great career. He's not a bad quarterback. He had an amazing season this year. He balled out, so we'll see what happens there. I mean, that's going to be interesting to see, but they could possibly make something work. Now, another thing I want to talk about is my team's needs, the Colts' needs for this offseason. Now, we already know we need a quarterback because Phillip Rivers may be done. And Jacoby Brissett, he is a free agent after this year. So that leaves us with Jacob Eason. And now, although I do like Jacob Eason, I believe he will be a pretty good quarterback. I don't know if he's the one right now. And he might not even be the one for the future. Who knows? But as of right now, what we need, let's see. We need a quarterback because Rivers and Brissett are free agents. We need a left tackle because Costanzo just retired. Some more corners because Xavier Rhodes is done. He was on a 1-year deal. So unless they decide to bring him back, I mean, he's 30. He's 30. So I mean, he's not too old. So I mean, they could decide to bring him back. But we do need some corners. We need a defensive end because right now all we have is 2 on the roster, so we need some edge rushers. And I think we need to pick up another receiver. Now, Paris Campbell got hurt this year. We have Zach Pascal. We still have Michael Pittman. We got Desmond Patman, who I don't believe even played this year. But T.Y. Hilton is going to be gone. He's a free agent this year, unless once again they decide to bring him back. I don't know if that'll happen. But T.Y. is gone. He's a free agent. So that's what we need. Now, We have a first round draft pick at 21. We have a second round at 54th overall. We have a third round at the 85th overall and a fourth round at 118th overall. Then we got 5th, 6th, and 7th. I can't really tell y'all what we need to pick there because those are just late rounds, and you kind of just get filler players at that point. And maybe one time you might hit on something. Who knows? But this is what I think we should get with our first 4 picks. So in the first round at 21, I believe we should take Gregory Rousseau from the University of Miami. He was a great edge rusher at Miami. Had a really good season this year, and had a really good season this year and everything. He's been solid. So I think we should definitely take him if he's not gone off the board already. But let me see, how many years did he play at Miami? I believe he played all 4, but let me see. No, he only played 2 years at Miami. So yeah, he played 2018, 2019. Or no, because we had a season. Yeah, so he played 3 years at Miami. He's a sophomore or junior this year. Played 3 years at Miami. Second overall pick, I believe. Oh yeah, he had 15.5 sacks this year. My bad, I'm bouncing all over the place. I just seen the stat, or not this year, but in 2019. Matter of fact, let me look this up. I wanna look this all up. Let's see, Sports Reference. This is why I go to get my info. Okay, so yeah, last year he had 15.5 sacks. Why they don't have this year's stats up? Anyway, y'all get the point. He's been a monster. He was a redshirt sophomore, and he's been a monster. So he had a really good season this year. Now with our second draft pick, second round pick, 54th overall, if they are still available, we should go Mac Jones or Trey Lance. That's if they're still available. Now, I don't think Trey Lance will be available then, but I think Mac Jones will because he only played 1 year, and he had an amazing year this year. Completed over like 70% of his passes. He can read the defense extremely well. I don't know if you all watched that Alabama Ohio State national championship game, but there's a couple plays on there where you can just see him scanning the field. And especially taking a snapshot right before he snaps the ball to see where a DB's lined up and all of that. But there's this one play in particular. I believe it was in the third quarter, and he started off there in the red zone, right? So he drops back, start off looking to his right, and he's looking to his right, scanning, looking over there, seeing if that's going to come open. Doesn't see nothing open over there. Boom, comes back to his left and throws a dime. And I believe it was to Mechie. Throws a dime to Mechie, and I don't know if it went for 6 or if they got a first down on it. I want to say they got a first down, but just the way he was able to process all of that, and now he did have time back there, and I believe with the Colts, he gonna have time because that offensive line is amazing. But was just able to scan the field and get his reads, go through his progressions, and find the open receiver. So I would like to see that. Trey Lance, there's not really a lot of film on him because he hasn't played that much. I believe he had 1 season. So, kind of like Mac Jones, but we've seen Mac Jones throughout the years because he's coming to games and everything. But I think he played 1 season, and this year he played 1 game and decided to sit out. So that was that. With our third round pick, we need an offensive tackle. And so if Liam Etchenberg, I believe that's how you say his last name, he's the offensive tackle for Notre Dame. If he's available, I say we take him at third, with our third overall pick. Well, not third overall. Our third round pick, we take Liam Etchenberg. And with our fourth round pick, I think we go receiver. And I think we take either Amon-Ra St. Brown from USC or we go Amari Rodgers from Clemson. And I think we get one of those two. I believe Amon-Ra will probably drop down to 4th round. I don't think he's going to one of those noticeable players where somebody's going to choose him in an earlier round. But I believe he can be a solid receiver, and just solid for us. And Amari Rodgers, we've seen him for the past 3-4 years and how he's been at Clemson. So that'll be a good pickup. Like I said, 5, 6, the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round pick. I don't know who we really could pick there. Like those would just be filler positions, but I think that those are the 5 pick or the 4 picks I would like to see the Hurricanes get. So like in those first 4 rounds, I want us to go defense, offense. because I think our defense is set, but we need some more key pieces on offense, especially a quarterback. So I wouldn't mind for them to take a quarterback, even if they did, switched it and took a quarterback in the first round and got Russo in the second round. That's fine. That's fine with me. That I'm not the GM though. I'm just a fan. So we'll see what happens there. But I want to introduce y'all back to the drop ball, or who dropped the ball. This is I kind of stopped doing it, but I want to introduce y'all back to that because I believe it was good. So I want to bring back who dropped the ball. And this week, I have two. I guess I'd say two people. They could be co-award winners of who dropped the ball, and this goes to the Brooklyn Nets and Juju Smith-Schuster. And so the reason I give it to Juju is because Juju is a shit talker. But if you're going to talk shit, you got to back it up. And the Steelers did not back it up. He didn't really back it up. I mean, like I said, he had 157 yards, but to me, those empty calories, bruh. You coming from behind, you didn't do anything all game until y'all went down by like 30 points. Empty calories. So Juju gets that. And then the Brooklyn Nets, just because I believe they gave up too much for James Harden, and they just letting Kyrie do whatever he wants to do. And I mean that's all I can say. I mean that's it. They letting Kyrie do whatever he wants to do, and they gave up everything. They gave up the world for James Harden. I think it was too much. So to me, those are the two that dropped the ball this week. Next week I'll have two more for y'all. Hopefully it ain't gonna be as bad as these two because I think these were pretty bad. But yeah, so that's all I have for y'all today, man. I hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. Hit that bell button as well. So that way you get the notification bell. Make sure y'all hit that. But yeah, it's been good. And until next time, peace.